it's Saturday. Good morning. How is everybody? Betsy Coe is here, and Greg Clark, and I'm Max Golden, and this is the Saturday morning live cast where we round up all that has happened in the past week on WikiTree. Now, one of our little elves is not going to be here, one of our little social media butterflies. We wish Lisa Gervais good luck and good time moving. She still hasn't told me where she's moving to, but I think she's moving further away from me, which means us going for having a coffee it's not going to happen. So I'm
you'll just have to make it a dinner, something worth.
We've had coffee before. We actually met and had coffee, which was a lot of fun. Victor Rose is here this morning. Ozzy is here. That's so funny. Ozzy has the spelling done perfectly. Kathy Bauer is here. Murray Maloney. Hey, Murray. Beautiful day in Collingwood. Is he in Ontario?
He is, yeah. And today is the Butter Tart Festival in Collingwood. So
sounds like I need to make a road trip. Was that like 6 hours away from me? Minnesota, Susie Carta, Sandy Paddock, Biscuit. Beautiful sunny Georgia. It's not beautiful and sunny here. Have you got sun? You look like you have sun, Greg.
Yeah, there is some sun.
I don't believe it. We're waiting for more storms.
Well,
lovely morning in Anacortes, Washington from MH. Chris Ferriello is here. John Tyner. We are live. We are live. Hi there, Welsh John, or did we switch back to Irish, little bro? That's so funny. Is John having a genealogical identity
crisis? I don't know.
Audrey Martin is here. John Tyner, Donna Gerber. I almost say Garber. Let's see. And Joke. Hey, Yoke. I'm sorry. Just I read it. It said Joke.
You just read it, No, it's
sorry, Yoke. So have you guys had a good week?
Yeah. Busy week, yes.
Did you have an opportunity to enjoy any of the United States Memorial Day stuff going on? Probably less for Greg, but more for Betsy.
No.
That was last.
Yeah, it was the previous week, although, I was hearing about, the 80th anniversary of D-Day and knowing that I could look forward to seeing those profiles today. So
some really good profiles.
Yeah.
Well, and here we go. And not only do we have profiles, we've got the question of the week, which I need to find. I've got the South Carolina Genealogical Society's tree climber up. Sorry, the Lawrence County. Shout out on you people. Question of the week: who are the military heroes in your family? Any heroes for you guys?
No.
My dad was because he was a farmer. He was sort of on the the B list, on the reserves, I guess. So he did do some training, but was never called over.
Oh yeah. And what year was that, Greg?
So that would be in the Second World War. And I actually got a little packet of, those little, they're about this size, like the size of a card, or even less than a playing card, of some photos of him in the barracks with some of the others.
Nice.
It's kind of interesting seeing him so young when.
Oh yeah.
Because he was 45 when I was adopted. So my image of him is always, in his 50s and 60s.
Right.
But to see him that young is kind of wild.
Yeah, my grandfather he's so cute when he was young. My grandmother says he had a head full of hair, and she sent him off to the Pacific, and he came home bald. Yeah, and I have a sibling who is. So it's stressful. Lots. Oh my gosh, we had 102 answers to the question of the week. Who are the military heroes in your family? 102 questions. There was a lot of great stuff. But this is one of the most iconic photographs ever. And it's the 1936 Olympics in Germany. Now, the winds of war were blowing. They were coming. The Anschluss had happened. There was stuff going on. And so the fact that this wonderful man, Jesse Owens, did what he did, but also the 4x100 relay in the 1936 Berlin Summer Olympics was cool. But this isn't about him. This is actually about a cousin of mine. So I went over, and it's this little fella here.
Oh,
yes, it's Foy Draper. He is my. Oh, it doesn't show it. I don't know why it doesn't show it. Let's see if I refresh it. He's my 7th cousin through my Dillards. I don't know why that happened, but there's no profile manager for this fella.
Oh,
and he is a notable.
Huh.
Yeah.
Who create? What was the circumstance around the creation of the profile? Was it like a challenge or?
I don't know who created it. We could go to the changes, but I'd prefer not.
Created in 2020.
The reason he's being shown right now is because he died during World War II. He was an American track athlete that won a gold in the 4x100 medley relay at 100 meter relay. Being a former swimmer, when I see 100M, I always think medley because that was one of our swim things. 1936 Summer Olympics, as a University of Southern California student, Draper won the IC4A championships in the 200 meter in 1935. So he's a fast little guy. I like the commentary that let's see, who is it that posted? He's got lots of stuff here. So David Draper posted a lot of pictures. Sorry, I'm scrolling too fast.
Is it his ancestor?
Yes, it is his. It is his ancestor.
What I thought of right away when I heard the name Draper, because Dave always says, "Hi, we're 19th cousins," or
oh, really cool
on the draw.
Well, I'm 7th cousins to him through my Dillard family, Edward Dillard. So that's cool. He was 5'5".
Wow.
So he was a little fella. And he died in a plane crash in Tunisia in 1943. They have January 4th because that's the date that the plane took off, but they don't know when he actually died. The Havoc is the name of the plane. Here is him in his flight uniform. Here is the twin engine plane that the Havoc that he took off in. And then here's a picture of Draper and his classmate at UCLA. They were not a couple, but they died within days of each other. Interesting. He looks so much older than a university student, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like he's in his 30s.
He could be a prof.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always think about that people look much older back then than they did. Here is his cross. Foy Draper, 97th Bomb Squadron, California, but he died in Tunisia in January in 1943. Somewhere there's a death date for him for February 1st, which really couldn't happen if he was just flying within North Africa. He would have made it there in the day. So that's a cenotaph marker in Tunis. That is a great profile that needs a little bit of love. It's got some of the importation straight over from Ancestry. And I took out, since it doesn't have a profile manager, I took out the source of the Find a Grave because the Find a Grave really can't be a source. But so I changed it into the Find a Grave Memorial instead. Where is it? Anyway, so that shows up. Oh, there's Find a Grave. It was in there twice and I didn't notice that. So I would have taken that out and put that up. Oh, I
put it up somewhere else. Yeah.
Okay.
John Tyner said that there was a recent edit that you should refresh your page and maybe.
Yeah. Well, I just did.
Or maybe you just did. Oh.
Maybe the edit was
you. Maybe it was you who did the edit.
Yeah, it's still not doing what it did. So anyway, so the next one, all right, that's not it. Here we go. The next one is a fellow, do they look like they really like it? It's very, I don't know, were they fighting? I'm sorry.
It looks like they're getting married, but they're not feeling lovey-dovey.
But military man, strict.
Yes.
To look good for the picture. That's all we need to do right now, and then we
Yeah.
can go have fun.
I've been
This is
standing here for 2
Commodore
hours now.
Stanley Dexter. Now I'm saying Jupe, but it may be Yoop. Naval Academy Class 1918 graduate and veteran of both World Wars, captain of the battleship USS Idaho, and present in Tokyo Bay during the Japanese surrender. Now, that's a pretty crazy, cool thing to have on your CV. Most proud of his role as the commanding officer of Naval Operating Base in New Zealand during World War II, during which he improved diplomatic ties with both Prime Minister Peter Fraser and Maori King Kuroki Te Rata Mahuta.
Look at that!
Yeah.
Look at that!
Wait, there's even more. So
oh wow,
that's pretty cool. Let's see, and I have him up as well. Great profile here. He's got lots of great stuff on his profile. Lots of stuff is flushed out. He's got some autosomal DNA connections. I always like to look at those connections. They've got pictures of him. I believe that is Eleanor Roosevelt right there.
Looks like it.
Yeah. Doesn't show.
First Lady, yeah. I think if you scroll up, it said First Lady, yeah.
And then here he is, Fleet Admiral Halsey and Commodore Jupe chatting during Eleanor Roosevelt's visit. Okay, that's that. He's got tons and tons. Who's the profile manager on here?
Look at those categories.
What's that?
Categories for ages.
Yes, yes. And this one down here caught my attention, Charleston, South Carolina. That's where he passed away. It seems right that somebody who was in the Navy would live in Charleston, South Carolina at their end. So he's got a master's, electrical engineering. He's a great guy. So this is an incredibly nice profile. And I love the Maori symbol there.
That's right.
And there's the wedding picture again. You always think of wedding pictures of the big smiling bride and groom running down the,
But the date was it was 39. At that era still when people were a little more solemn, I think.
Okay, I take that. But look at him here. He's got
the same guy.
He smiles.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Wow.
But this is a great profile. Hats off. Hats off to the profile manager and everything. That's great. The next one, let's see if I can get over to it. This is 1942. This is the saddest one today. This photo taken in 1942 of my parents on their wedding day. Master Sergeant Claire Alexander Click Lovelace. Click. He was a flight engineer on a B-29 that flew bombing missions over Japan. On the 29th of May, 1945, his plane was hit by flak. It went down in the North Pacific Ocean. Chick was considered missing for 6 months, and his body was never recovered. 4.5 months after his plane was shot down, my mother gave birth to his baby girl, me. So here we go. Now that's a wedding picture, if that is a wedding picture.
Oh, yeah.
He looks so nice. And you see who that is?
Alexis Nelson. Aww.
Well, she is going to be going to the 39th Bomb Group reunion just very soon. So that is so cool.
Wow.
That's so cool. So the next one we've got is Grain Out Hilda married into the Griffith family. This is the real tearjerker. One of her brothers-in-law was Watkin Emil Owen Griffith, and I looked up how to pronounce that. Watkin. He's got a great profile too, but this is a great synopsis of it. He died July the 10th, 1916, during the assault of Mametz Wood, part of the Battle of the Somme. He has no known grave, but he's commemorated. The saddest part of his death is that his brother Wynne Griffith was the brigade major. The saddest part of his death is that his brother Wynne gave the order that ultimately killed his brother. And they're all, that's crazy. Wynne became a noted novelist, but he never forgave himself for killing his brother. And it wasn't, I mean, he needed to have a message run back and forth, but he said, I sent him to his death, bearing a message from my own hand in an endeavor to save other men's brothers.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. But he didn't know about his brother's death till about an hour after it happened. So that's crazy. Which is why I'm kind of tying in the Memorial Day and then the I love this picture. Frederick Charles Eddington Messer was a great-granduncle listed in the Australian Infantry Force allocated to the 4th Infantry Battalion. Have you seen the movie Gallipoli?
Mm-hmm.
I have not.
He was one of the runners in Gallipoli, at Gallipoli. He died in the first week of the battle, shot in the head by a Turkish sniper, and evacuated to Egypt. Died of his wounds in Alexandria. So that's crazy. Yeah. Another one. And the last one. Look at these awards. Bernie Strong. He had quite a few. Mm-hmm. Naval Aviator, Navy Flying Cross, 2 Gold Stars, Distinguished Flying Cross, Air Medal with 3 stars, President Union Citation, American Defense Service, American Campaign Medal, Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal, World War II Victory Medal, Navy Occupation Service Medal, and National Defense Service Medal. If he stood with all of those on his shirt, he'd just fall over.
Yeah, exactly.
He was a dive bomber on the USS Intrepid.
Wow.
I don't think I would enjoy that.
No.
He's got a Silver Star, but they don't have that listed on all of his stuff. So that's from Rob Graham. Go through, and if you want to be awed, read through. There is not a single one of these posts that isn't worthy of being displayed today, but there's 6 pages worth. So wow. We appreciate all of these men for working so hard to make our lives and our happiness and everything that we hold dear is because of these men and women.
And women.
Yep.
Yeah. Well said. Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Now let's get off of the very happy stuff and go to something more happy.
Well, looking at the profiles of the week, just let me share my screen here. We're going to follow in the same vein because the profiles of the week are all about World War II heroes, having just celebrated D-Day.
Greg, you seem to be hitting your mic.
Am I hitting my mic?
Yes, sir.
Well, maybe that was when I was. Let's see. I'll try not to hit my mic.
If you're gonna do it really well, and Betsy and I'll just here.
So the World War II heroes, because we just celebrated the 80th anniversary of D-Day just 2 days ago. And so we have a long list of profiles. So I'm going to try and do them justice, but there are so all of them are wonderful profiles. This episode, it'll be very interesting. And the Connection Combat has been renamed Connection Checkers game. You check your connections and whatnot. And so they're suggesting checking out one of these. So the first one is Sarah Kathleen Eleanor Norton Baring. And she was born in 1920 in Paddington, London, England, on the 20th of January, and passed away at the grand age of 93, 4th February 2013. Doesn't say where. My guess is somewhere in the United Kingdom, but I don't know. But anyways, her claim to fame during World War II is that she was a decoder at Bletchley Park, which was the place where all of the code breaking was happening for the Allied code breaking. And I believe Alan Turing worked there. There was a number of people there who worked there, and many of them were women and code breakers and brilliant mathematicians, so that they were able to figure out and break the code. Very important job that happened during the Second World War. So she was the daughter of Richard Henry Brinsley Norton and Jean Marie. Lived with her mother in London. Married William Waldorf Astor, who was the son of William Waldorf Astor and Lady Nancy Witcher Astor. I was trying to find, but I couldn't find. I wonder if there was a connection between the Astor family, the rich Astor family, or the Waldorf Hotel. But I couldn't find the direct connection. But he was I believe her husband was a Viscount or became a Viscount after his father passed away. So there's
Didn't one of the Astors die in the Titanic?
Yes, I believe so. That's true. Yeah. So I wonder how that I didn't investigate that connection because it's really all about her. But it was a curious thing. And then during the World War II, she worked for Vogue and the Baltimore Sun, and then she was also the one, and of course as a decoder at Bletchley Park, she was also the one who introduced Prince Philip to his first girlfriend. So that's kind of a cool piece of trivia.
Wow. Matchmaker.
Yeah. Anyways, her marriage with Waldorf Astor did not stick, and then she did get remarried in 1953 and passed away at the age of 93. Now here it says she was buried at St. Peter's and St. Paul's Churchyard in Belton, Lincolnshire, England. So presumably she passed away in England, would be my guess, but it'd be nice if someone could add that piece of information to the profile. Moving on, we have Virginia Hall. She was born in Baltimore, Maryland on the 6th of April, 1906, and she lived to 76. Passed away in Rockville, Montgomery, Maryland on the 8th of July, 1982. So there's so many good profiles, but I got to say the women's profiles have some more interesting twists than the men this week around. Not that the men aren't worthy, but there's some really interesting things here. Anyways, Virginia is one of those unsung heroes. Her actions behind enemy lines successfully disrupted German operations, and they even made posters for her, looking for her, the limping lady, they called her. So she was a consular clerk at the American Embassy in Warsaw, Poland. So in 1931, she was in Poland. And the next year she was shot. She accidentally shot herself in the left leg while she was hunting in Turkey, as one does. You know, you're working for an embassy in Poland, you go for a holiday in Turkey, and you go hunting, and then you shoot yourself.
Was she hunting turkey?
I don't know what she was hunting turkeys in Turkey. But anyways, so her leg had to be amputated from the knee down. So you'd think that would put her on the sidelines. She did have to resign from the State Department in 1939. But when World War II came along, she joined the ambulance service. She could still help out there. And then she escaped to Spain when Germany invaded France, returned to London, and then she volunteered to take part in the SOE, the Special Operations Executive. And there's a number of profiles that refer to the SOE, people who work for them. So this is a very interesting unit, sort of like the spy unit. So she went back to France, and her cover was that she was a correspondent for the New York Post, but really she was doing some spy work and in behind the scenes. And for that work in 1945, she got a Distinguished Service Cross. And President Truman wanted a public presentation, but she said she's still operational and she just wants to get back to work. So she kept on working there. So very cool. She joined in 1951. She followed that career path and joined the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, and worked as an analyst and worked alongside her husband, Paul Guillot. So very cool, very interesting. So there's some nice pictures along the side here. The next one we have is Maria Christina Janina, daughter of Jerzy Siraki Henryk Skarbek. So she was born in Poland. She was a Polish-born World War II spy known as Christina Granbo. She married businessman Gustav Karol Getlich first in 1930, but then they divorced. And then she married a former cowboy and gold prospector, Jerzy Mikolai Orden Gesicki, in 1938 in Poland. They moved to Ethiopia, where her husband was appointed as a consul general. And then when Germany invaded Poland, they went to England. And that's where she offered her services to, again, the same place, the Special Operations Executive. And then she went undercover, initially in Hungary, and then Poland, and then later in France. So here's a little quote from a biography about her. She skied over the hazardous high Tatras in the occupied Poland, served in Egypt and North Africa, and was later parachuted behind enemy lines into France, where an agent's life expectancy was only 6 weeks. Her courage, quick wit, and determination won her release from arrest more than once, and also saved the lives of several fellow officers, including one of her many lovers, just hours before their execution was scheduled by the Gestapo. More importantly, the intelligence she gathered in her espionage was a significant contribution to the Allied war effort. So, it sounds like she had a very interesting life. I'm surprised there's not a movie already about her.
I know, I was thinking, things that movies are made of.
Yeah, but to add more to it, so that was all the stuff she did in the World War II, but then she came to a very sad ending. In 1952, she was stabbed to death in a London hotel. Now they caught the person who was convicted of murder and hanged, but
was he also a spy?
Well, that's what one wonders. Now, the newspaper reported that he was a besotted ex-lover who had met the previous year and worked as cruise ship stewards. Really? You think after all that she's done as a spy, she's going to work as a cruise ship steward? I think not. Sounds fishy to me.
Unless she just wanted a long vacation.
Maybe, yeah. So, anyways, a very curious ending. So, very interesting. These profiles are really well done. Like, they're nice and they're full and informative, and they're just really well. Whoever picked out the profiles this week, two thumbs up. Very, very great connection. Ninth cousin 4 times removed. I think this one might be the closest genealogically to me. I'm not sure about the numbers. I forgot to look about that. But here we have Fleet Admiral William Frederick Bull Halsey Jr. Fleet Admiral William Frederick Halsey Jr., commonly referred to as Bill or Bull Halsey, was an American fleet admiral in the United States Navy. He led the World War II Pacific Allied forces over the course of the Doolittle Raid, the battle for Guadalcanal, and fighting up the Solomon Chain in the Pacific. Later, he was made commander of the Third Fleet, commanded actions from the Philippines to Japan, and then in December 1945, he took the oath as Fleet Admiral. He obtained many awards and accolades, including 4 separate Navy Distinguished Service Medals, as well as being made a Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire by the King of England himself. So, and here's another. I love how when they have pictures of the medals on the profiles. I think that's one of the profiles you were showing, Megs.
Yeah,
had a number of the medals there, and that's so cool to see that. And anyways, the profile goes on to talk about his early life and meeting his wife. Passed away in 1959 while he was on holiday on Fisher's Island in New York.
He was at the signing of the Japanese surrender. Sorry, wow, missing my words. But the other fellow that we were talking about earlier was there as well.
Yes, yeah. Very cool, eh? So, Hedwig Eva Maria Kiesler.
I love this story. This is one of my favorite stories.
She's my closest.
What's that?
She's your closest?
Yep, 15 degrees.
Oh, wow.
For me, and not by any kind of...
Oh, yeah, I didn't check that. But
yeah. Look at all the...
So she was born the 9th of November in 1914 in Wien, Österreich-Ungarn, or Vienna, Austria, as it's more commonly known in the Western world. And more commonly known not as Hedwig Eva Maria, but as Hedy Lamarr, Austrian-born American actress and inventor, which is the coolest thing. Yeah. Her father was a banker. Her mother was a concert pianist. So there's a musical connection there, Betsy. And she changed her name in the late 20s when she started training as an actress to Hedy Lamarr. She was first married to one of the top 5 wealthiest men in all of Austria, Fritz Mandl, who was a munitions tycoon, 14 years her senior. They lived on a massive estate called the Schloss Schwarzenau. But by 1937, after 4 years of marriage, that was enough for her.
I don't want to be the richest person in Austria.
No, that's just too much. So she escaped from her estate disguised as her maid. And then she sought refuge in Paris. And that's where she met Louis B. Mayer, the film mogul, and went off to Hollywood and became famous there, of course. Between 40 and 49, she completed 18 films for her fame. But not just her acting. In 41, she paired up with a composer who was also an inventor, George Antheil, and they created a technology, a frequency hopping technology, which made it virtually impervious to interference. So the frequency at which things are broadcast would flip from one to another, so it would be hard to follow. So you would basically lose people who are trying to trace you. And it was granted a patent by the U.S. government. They created it first because the Axis powers, Germany and so on, were jamming the Allied torpedoes, and this would have prevented some of that. Now, strangely enough, the Navy never did implement their invention during the World War II, but they did implement it later on, and it was definitely in use by 1962 on American warships, just in time for the Cuban Missile Crisis. And now it's widely integrated into many devices and is the basis for all of our wireless technology now today.
We can blame our cell phones on Hedy Lamarr.
Thank you, Hedy Lamarr.
Or maybe not. I mean,
yeah, that's right. Isn't that cool? Hedy Lamarr, famous actress, invented a key technology used in Wi-Fi today. Anyway, because of that, the pair of them were now inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame in 2014. And on top of all that, look how beautiful she is.
Yeah. Oh, but that was the bane of her existence.
Well, of course. Yeah. Because people only saw that and they didn't realize the huge brain, the beautiful brain inside. Yeah.
You can't judge a book by its cover.
No. It's so wild. Yeah. Neat. Moving on to George Catlett Marshall Jr., who was the 3rd United States Secretary of Defense. And see how we have this nice succession box here.
Mm-hmm.
If you look in the comments down below, Chris, our fearless leader, Chris, commented about that the succession box wasn't working. And so it's working here, but unfortunately the 4th secretary and the 2nd secretary, they don't have succession boxes, so we can't go back in time like we can for presidents to see who was back to the very first Secretary of Defense. So
he's my 5th cousin.
Not sure what project would work on adding that, but that would be kind of a cool thing to add. He's your 5th cousin?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. He is 20th cousin.
Let me see. Max, you and I are usually kind of close. I'm going to check.
And what are you, Betsy?
I'm going to check right now. Yeah.
So, George Marshall. So if you've heard of the Marshall Plan, this is that Marshall. Also known as the organizer of victory because of his leadership in the Allied victory. And he obviously came up with the Marshall Plan that eventually bore his name. I suspect in the first meeting with the chiefs of staff, he didn't say, okay, this is the Marshall Plan. He's not, this is my plan. I'm calling it the Marshall Plan. And from henceforth, we're calling it this? Probably not, right? But obviously, it was his plan that sort of paved the way and was sort of the field guide to victory for the forces. Winston Churchill recognized that, as well, of course, Franklin D. Roosevelt and other advisors. I got excited here. I thought, oh, Canadian connection, Vancouver Barracks. But no, that's Vancouver, Washington, where he was stationed at one point.
They
Died
couldn't
at home.
afford to build a barrack in Vancouver, British Columbia.
What's that?
I said they couldn't afford to build a barrack
Oh
in
my goodness,
British Columbia.
Yes, the real estate there would be crazy. He died at 78 years of age in 1959 and interred at Arlington National Cemetery. And it also mentions that his memorial has lots of more information over there too. So very cool.
Well, he is my 13th cousin 4 times removed. So.
Marshall House. Some
nice.
photos added to the side there. Then we have Rawdon Hume Middleton, Victoria Cross, pilot officer. He was an Australian jackaroo and a bomber pilot who became a posthumous recipient of the Victoria Cross, which is the highest award for gallantry in the face of the enemy that can be awarded to British and Commonwealth services.
I think he wins for the most categories.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if we go down to categories. How many does he have? Ooh, look at all those categories.
What?
Wow. Waverley, New South Wales. Muswellbrook, New South Wales. Tamworth, New South Wales. Wallerwang, every town in New South Wales that he walked through. Not quite.
I think he looked out the window of a car at a couple of those.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Jackaroo and Jillaroo. Wow, there's a category for that. Okay, we got to look at that. A jackaroo is a young man, Jillaroo, a young woman, who worked on a sheep or cattle station to gain practical experience and the skills needed to become an owner, overseer, manager, etc. The word jackaroo originated in Queensland in the 19th century and is still used in Australia and New Zealand in the 21st century. A jillaroo was coined around the Second World War as a young woman moved into the land to work in the place of men who were called up for military duties. Firmly rooted in Australian English and Australian culture and in the traditions of stockmen and stockwomen. Look at that. So we have 16 official jackaroos or jillaroos. I think that's just.
I'm going to start using that as an example of categories on my new member soon.
Oh, you've got it.
That's fun. That's a good idea.
And let's see. Am I related to any of them? Oh, look. I'm cousins with 2 of them. Oh, wow. That is funny. Okay. But we got distracted from the main topic, which is this young man.
Yes.
Who passed, so here he is. Born at Nurse Nettleton's private hospital. Like, even the names of places in Australia are so cool. In July 1916. He worked on his father's farm as a jackaroo, gaining skills. And then he enlisted in 1940 in the Royal Australian Air Force. Took some initial flying lessons and training lessons. And then he became a pilot on a short Stirling 4-engine heavy bomber to the Ruhr Valley. So this is a sad story, but a very really well written. 28th of November, he was detailed. He had to bomb the Fiat factory in Turin. So they had to fly from England to Turin to bomb the factory. Now they made 3 passes over the factory just to make sure they had the right target, because they just can't, think, well, I think this is probably the place, and just let the bombs fly. They really tried to make sure that they were at the right place and bomb the right thing. And on the 3rd pass, his aircraft was hit by heavy anti-aircraft gun, so it wounded pilots and the wireless operator. He suffered some major injuries, including shrapnel wounds to his arms, legs, and his right eye. He passed out briefly, and then when he regained consciousness, though he was in great pain and barely able to see, losing blood, he wanted to get the aircraft home and the rest of his crew to safety. So he turned it around and flew back to England. They made it to the coast of England, and they only had 5 minutes of fuel left. He turned the aircraft parallel to the coast because he figured he couldn't land safely, but parallel to the coast, told his crew to bail out so they could get out safely. And all 7 did land safely, but 2 of them didn't survive the night in the sea. So they landed safely in the sea, but 2 didn't survive probably because of a combination of their injuries and the cold. The cold. He stayed with the aircraft, which eventually crashed into the English Channel, and died. So he was posthumously commissioned as the pilot officer and awarded for bravery. So,
what a tragedy!
Victoria Cross. Isn't that amazing?
What a heroic thing to do.
Yeah. In the line of his Victoria Cross citation, it says, "His devotion to duty in the face of overwhelming odds is unsurpassed in the annals of the Royal Air Force." Just, yeah, amazing. His father received the Victoria Cross at a ceremony from the Governor General himself in Australia, and he made it onto a postage stamp, which is why the background is the way it is. So that's some story. And what an amazing profile. The people who put together this profile very, very well.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have Frank Herbert Dedrick Pickersgill, who was Canadian. He was also a spy, and unfortunately was executed for being that. Grew up at a farm in Manitoba, went to high school in Winnipeg, and he earned a degree from United College, which is now the University of Winnipeg. And then he went to the U of T, University of Toronto, and got a Master's of Art in Classical History. While during all that schooling, he became fluent in several languages, including French and German. And so that made him a perfect candidate to work as a spy. He was arrested by Germans in 1940 when they invaded France. He was 2 years in a labor camp, escaped, made his way to England. He joined, again, the Special Operations executive, went back to work for the French resistance, but was captured soon after parachuting into France. So maybe along with learning languages, he should have learned a bit more about covert operations.
I don't know about that. I
don't know.
I would, if I parachuted into somewhere and tried to be quiet, I would land in the lap of the person.
Yeah, right. I know. I mean, really, when you think about it, like parachute, like you're falling. It's what must seem like an eternity, and you're just so visible. You're right up in the air there, Yeah. If anyone's looking.
And the parachutes back then didn't have the stuff where you could really target your glide path.
Yeah, it really was. Well, one of the previous profiles, didn't they say the average life expectancy was 6 weeks?
Yes, in France.
In France.
For a spy in France.
Oh my goodness. Think about that, knowing that, there was a fairly high probability that this is not going to work out well.
Yeah.
The bravery of people doing that. Anyways, he was awarded. He was
Chris
awarded.
Had a paratrooper. Sorry.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Paratrooper. Wow. So his remarkable letters were published in 1978. But the making of a secret agent, the Frank Pickersgill's letters. So let's see, does that give you a link to?
That sounds like a fun read.
It does. Is there a link to well, there's a link to, okay, so there's the publisher, but there's not a link to the site. Should be a link to the ebook or something would be interesting. Anyways, so there's one Canadian. Here is another Canadian. Mary Reed, formerly Grey Eyes. Mary was born in 1920. She was raised by her grandmother, Sarah Grey Eyes. And in the census in 1926, when she was 6 years old, she was listed as the daughter of Sarah Grey Eyes in Prince Albert. Her brother is David Grey Eyes Steele. She attended St. Michael's Residential School in Duck Lake, Saskatchewan from the age of 5 until the 8th grade. She was the first of the First Nations women to serve in the Canadian Armed Forces. And then she enlisted in the Canadian Women's Army Corps in 1942. While she was in service, she was sent overseas, and when she worked in the laundry at Aldershot and then as a cook at the War Centre in London. Now, what's interesting is, so this here is a publicity photo that was taken, which was staged. So in here, she's taken, the publicity photo shows her with Harry Ball, who's a member of the Peapot First Nation. He's dressed like a Plains chief in the garb. And it was actually hung in the Canadian War Museum, and it was labeled "Unidentified Indian Princess Getting
No.
and Father to Go to Fight in the War." Yes, yeah. So this, like, that in itself is, a crime, that it was mislabeled that and used. First of all, she's not an Indian princess, and she's not unidentified. They know who she was. People taking the pictures obviously know who she was. So eventually, this was corrected. The photo was properly identified, and it's now labeled Private Mary Grey Eyes Cree from Muskeg Lake Cree Nation. So her proper nation, the proper nation she's from, and part of the Canadian Women's Army Corps.
That surprises me. That must have been something that was attached to the photo originally,
yes,
and then posted to the museum, because the museum just opened not a few years ago, probably 10, 12 years ago.
The Canadian, really?
Yeah, it's down right. It's about 3 kilometers from me right now. So it's a museum that looks like a World War II bunker.
Right.
And then it also has Morse code. The windows are Morse code in the.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a really unusual building, to say the least. And it just opened, but I don't know where the War Museum was prior to that.
Yeah, so it must have been the prior. It must have been the earlier one.
Yeah, you would think they would have corrected that if they'd put
that. That kind of mistake wouldn't have happened in the most recent 10 years.
No.
But what's interesting is that Mary obviously was having no more truck with this type of publicity, because after the war they wanted her to take part in another publicity stunt, and she said no. She and they were questioning her why, and she said, "Can my mom vote?" And they said, no, she didn't fight in the war. So she got voting rights because she fought in the war, not because she was a Canadian citizen, but because she fought in the war. Can my mom vote? No. Well, what about my cousins over there? Can they vote? And they said, no. Well, come on, Mary, we've got the photographer right here. Let's just, don't worry about those silly questions you're asking. Let's just take the picture. And she said, all those years I said nothing. Now I'm saying no. Isn't that that's good for her?
Lots of integrity.
Good one, Mary. I'm really, thanks for including this profile, because that's an important.
Yes.
Important thing.
Yes.
Moving on, Charles Hazlitt Upham, VC and Bar, Victoria Cross and Bar, from New Zealand. New Zealander here. He was a New Zealand soldier who received the Victoria Cross twice during World War II. And he was one of only 3 people to have received that Victoria Cross twice. Only person to receive it twice during World War II. So I guess the other person must have, some of them have received it for other wars. And the only combat soldier to have received the award twice. He was regarded as the most highly decorated Commonwealth soldier of World War II. So born in Christchurch in 1908. He went to the Waihi School in Winchester, South Canterbury, and then to Christ College in Christchurch. Took part in the 2nd New Zealand Expeditionary Force in 1939 as a private, even though he had served 5 years as a lieutenant, as a rank of sergeant, sorry. I think he became lieutenant later on. He was offered a place in the officer cadet training, but he refused that initially. And then he was promoted to Lance Corporal, and then promoted to Sergeant, and then they sailed to Egypt. Yes, there in 1941, became 2nd Lieutenant for the New Zealand Battalion in Crete, and that's his first citation after he was blown over by a mortar shell. And he had a shrapnel wound in his shoulder and a bullet in his foot. And even with those wounds, he still managed to destroy a number of the enemy posts and rescued a wounded man while under fire. And he went behind enemy lines, where he killed 22 German soldiers while leading out a platoon. So that's just one of his exploits. And then there's another one here. He was alone with 2 Germans nearby. He was wounded, but was still able to jerry-rig.
That's kind of a weird thing to say for this. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I didn't. I don't even know. where the origins
Yeah,
of that were.
And the
Once they
story
left,
was what?
he was able to figure out a way, even though he had one arm.
MacGyver.
MacGyver.
There you go.
MacGyvered it. Yep.
He MacGyvered it. He put his gun in the crook of a tree to support his rifle and shoot one, and then reloaded and got the other one. And then another, when he was, another citation came from holding up. He led his company in attack against Germans. He was supposed to have support, but the support never came. But despite everything, it goes through details, and he was very seriously wounded, but he still kept on fighting and was able to stay with the remaining 6 members of his men until he was overrun by Germans and captured. But then he was taken to a prison. He was taken to Colditz, very famous prison fortress. There's a picture of it right there. And he was part of the Great Escape. So he just never stopped, kept on going. Passed away in 1994, and was given a full military honors, a funeral and full military honors. Over 5,000 people lined the streets of Christchurch to honor him. Very cool. Bram Vanderstock was known as Bob Vanderstock, World War II fighter, pilot, flying ace, most decorated aviator in all of Dutch history. His parents were married in 1911.
Now he looks 12.
Yeah, he looks pretty young, doesn't he? Yeah. So at the outset of the war, he was reserve in the Dutch Air Force and called to duty when Italy invaded Albania. Then he was when Germany invaded the Netherlands. He was taken prisoner, but then released, to return home. But he didn't want to just sit by while everyone else suffered, so he escaped to Britain and joined the war effort there. But of course, they had to interview him first to make sure that he wasn't actually just a spy and whatnot. But so he had to go through some interrogation. Anyways, it was a flying ace. He was shot down. He shot down 6 German aircraft, and then he was shot down and was imprisoned at Stalag Luft 3. He was the one who took part in the Great Escape from Stalag Luft 3, the prisoner of war camp. And then moved to Hawaii and lived there with his wife, and then passed away in Virginia Beach in Virginia. And the final one of this stellar group of profiles was Waverly Bernard Woodson Jr., born in Philadelphia in 1922. He was an American Army medic who saved dozens of wounded troops on the beaches of Normandy on D-Day itself, despite having been severely wounded himself. It was estimated that his actions that day saved up to 200 soldiers. So he grew up in Philadelphia, had one brother, attended public schools there, studied pre-med at Lincoln University, left his studies to join the Army in 1942, December 15th, 1942. So like shortly after the bombing of Pearl Harbor then, right? What was the date of that? It was December 7th?
December 7th.
Yeah. The day that will live in him.
Later, he joined the Army, left his studies in pre-med. He entered officer candidate school, but was told he could not be commissioned because the Army was not comfortable with black officers commanding white soldiers. Isn't that something? And you know what I was thinking, because I read these profiles before. When you were showing the picture of Jesse Owens and that team, the relay team, 4 men working together for a common goal. Jesse Owens, one of them. Yep. No problem there. And yet, almost 10 years later, they couldn't have a black officer in charge of white soldiers. That's kind of sad. Yeah. But instead he was assigned to be a medic, and he was a medic for the only black unit fighting in the D-Day invasion. So that's why he was there on that day, part of that battalion as a medic. And so he was wounded himself just as he approached the beach. So he hadn't even made it to shore before he got wounded, but he still worked for 30 hours cared for other soldiers, and that's where they estimated he could have saved as many as 200 lives that day. And then he was given military honors, and in 2024, that's this year, right? For the 80th D-Day anniversary, the Maryland senator announced that he would be awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. And they've been fighting for that Medal of Honor award. So very impressive. And there, look, those are the honors that he has already received. So very impressive. And there you have the profiles of the week.
Bravo.
They were a good bunch.
Yes.
I mean, they're always a good bunch, but exceptionally, the stories were quite interesting this week.
Yeah, fascinating stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like the British archaeological show Time Team. It was on forever, and they've come back and they've done a few specials, and I watched a special about the Band of Brothers, Easy Company. Yeah, so that was very fun and apropos to watch this week. So that was cool.
Okay, well, we have some photos. This is the first week of June photos. Well, we looked at some music photos last week. We saw Mags playing in her last public performance. So we have 4 photos today. Let me share. So the first is Ira Draper. Let me make this a little larger.
We've got the Drapers coming out of the wazoo today.
Yeah.
So Dave Draper wrote about him, and it was his great-granduncle built and repaired fiddles. And when he was a boy, he grew up near Wyatt Earp. They're the same age. They're both the same age. He was mentioned in a publication as helping his parents who were involved in the Iowa Underground Railroad. He also carried mail on a subroute of the Pony Express, as his father had the contract to carry mail between Falls City and Pawnee City, Nebraska. He would sit on the porch, play his fiddle with a gun nearby to shoot a squirrel that ventured too close. That was his dinner. He lived to be 93. And this is really a wonderful photo.
Wow.
Squirrels, dude.
He subsisted on music-loving squirrels.
That's right. Lured by his fiddle.
Yes, that's right.
I wonder if he had specific tunes he would play that would bring them in more than the others.
That's right.
And here's an advertisement. Maker of high-grade violins. So this is submitted by Alexis Nelson. This is her daughter, Michelle, who is also a WikiTreeer, and this photo is shared with permission. Let me see if I can
look at that.
I know. So adorable.
That is.
And so the tie-in to music is Alexis says, behind her is the way we enjoyed music over 50 years ago. On the left is one of 2 speakers, and behind her is the amplifier, and to the right is a large reel-to-reel tape recorder that we recorded music on.
Oh my.
See, I could see, the reel-to-reel. And those speakers, my parents had some of those.
Oh, wow.
So, it's true.
Alexis has so many great pictures.
Oh, I know.
She should show us a picture from her trip to the 89th Bomber reunion.
Yeah.
And this is, I don't think we saw Ann Fiordalisi isn't in the chat this morning, is she?
Oh,
you know, I had one of her people were in my list to go over, and then I kind of ran out of time. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, because usually she is tuned in. Yeah. So hopefully she'll catch this on the replay. This gentleman is, his name is Mr. Hirschman. No kin, but like a father to me. She was the father of a really good friend of hers. He was a violist and taught violin lessons. For 15 years, he played with the local Tischler Klezmer Orchestra. They call themselves an orchestra, but it's really a band.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
with a clarinet. I love that sound.
Yes. Yeah. So there are several sources on his WikiTree profile about him playing and about klezmer orchestras. So he looks very happy.
Viola could be a fiddle, a violin could be a fiddle. I'm just saying, yeah. And the difference between a viola and a violin is that a viola is just slightly bigger in its body.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Just in case people wondered.
That's right. Yeah. It's
and
like
the strings have different names. They're different notes.
Yep.
Right. It's like soprano and alto, basically, right? In voicing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the sound of a viola. It's just, it's that little bit lower and richer. And then Anne also shared this. Now we're not going to watch the video, but it's a video tribute to her father.
Nice.
And Art for Fiordalisi. And what I did do instead was I took some screenshots. So that the music that and maybe I can drop the link in the chat to the video. The music was written, words and lyrics, by her father.
You know, in the branding section of the dashboard that we work with, you can actually upload that music into the branding section, and we could have listened to it.
Oh. Yeah. And she was clear to tell me, that it's okay to watch because I have the copyright license. So
nice.
Yeah, here I will drop that in the. So it's not his dad performing it, but it is
his music.
His music, words and lyrics.
Wow.
And then here's a picture of her dad. So
nice.
Yeah, beautiful. So thank you, Anne, for sharing both of those.
Very cool.
Yeah, and we have a couple of ancestors to celebrate. I did see. I'm going to go back to normal, little less. I did see Vicky in the chat. Hi, Vicky. Yes. And we're going to, let's see, we're going to celebrate her fourth great grand uncle, Diego Portales, who actually has two links to June. He was born on June 16th, 1793, and he died June 6th, 1837. As you can see, a notable connection. Vicky did just a great job on this profile. When you go down, you'll see that first it's in English and then it's in Spanish. She has his signature. He was never president, but he was had some very, very significant offices in Chilean politics. He was vice president. He was minister of state. He was somewhat controversial during his lifetime, but then afterwards, everybody really credited that he shaped modern Chile and its politics. Here we have a statue. He was assassinated in a military uprising. So, Vicky, I hope I'm doing justice in summarizing. But
Betsy, you do justice to everything. You do.
Thanks. So this is beautiful. Thank you. And again, I just love that it's in two languages. And there are different pictures down below too. So. Yeah.
Interesting.
Funny and.
Oh,
there's Anne.
Oh, look.
What? Anne.
Oh.
What? What do we see? What I don't
want to literally see. Just come in.
She just arrived, and
okay, Anne, right at the 1 hour mark. You can
go back and look at it again
because we looked at both your photo and your video. Okay. So let's see. Well, Anne gave us an ancestor to celebrate. So
there we go.
There we go.
We just saw a picture of the dad. So.
Yes, yes. This is her great uncle, Lawrence Porcello. who was born June 3rd, 1915. And the really, I think it stuck out to me, and I think it stuck out to her too when she was researching him, is that his draft card said he had red hair.
Really?
Hair. So why this is strange is that most of his family has dark brown or black hair. He must have gotten it from the Barnett side.
Or the in my case, I was the non-curly haired person in my family, and the blue-eyed person. And my siblings always told me I was adopted.
So that I really love those draft registration cards because they give, if you don't have a photo, they do give you something.
You can visualize, yeah.
So we have some really nice photos. This was my favorite.
Did that look like he had red hair there? The wedding picture. Was it colored?
Well, I'm not sure. Is that
yes. It's colorized though.
Yeah. But
that's the 1920s.
Yeah. But here we have a picture of him and his brother. So his sister was Anne's grandmother, if I'm remembering correctly. So thank you for sharing, Anne. Let's see, okay, we have, this is from Shonda Feather. We have Benjamin Franklin Sayers Jr., who was her half-granduncle, born June 2nd, 1914 in Nokesville, Virginia. And he was killed in World War II. And the profile actually has a newspaper article that was published in his hometown paper when he was killed. And his he was one of 4 brothers. At least two other brothers were also serving. And I don't know if I mentioned he's her half granduncle. And here's a photo of him with his sister, Leon. So
that's a nice picture.
It really is. Yeah. Akron. So thank you, Shonda. And our last ancestor is I'm going to try my best here. Antonin Satchel. I'm hesitating because I don't know what the little accent would do.
Well, is that the same one that's on Alesh's name?
I was going to say it is.
So it should make an SH sound like a sha.
Shishel. Yeah. So this is Frank Roche's first cousin, 4 times removed. His link to June is his birthday, June 11th, 1860. And he lived his life in Herky, Bohemia. And he was just very, very involved. He was mayor of Herky. Then he went on to become chairman of the Lisov district. He co-founded the Catholic Association of Czech Farmers and the Catholic People's Party. And then finally, he served in the Czechoslovak National Assembly. So really gave of himself to his community and his country. So nice. Thank you, Frank. I don't think Frank has contributed an ancestor before, so it's always nice to see new names pop up in the G2G post.
Yeah.
So, keep them coming.
All right. Did you have a tip this week? No,
not this week. No.
Don't take wooden nickels.
I think that's a good one to go with.
That
is a good one to go with. Let's see. We've got some stuff coming up here soon. Let me switch my screen before I share. There we go. We've got some things coming up. What's happening around WikiTree in June? Pardon me? Oh, I thought you wanted to interject.
No.
So we've got Saturday Sourcing Sprint, the question of the week, 52 Ancestors, Data Doctors Challenge, connection checkers, the WikiTree. Oh, okay. Sorry, there was noise going on upstairs and I'm alone. It's like, call the police. June the 10th, the connection checkers, World War II heroes. That's still going on. Should go until what, Tuesday? Is the 9th?
Yeah, I think it swaps on the Wednesday. Yeah.
So we've got a lot of stuff coming on. The WikiTree Challenge 7, I believe that would be. They're going to go over David Allen Lambert stuff. Karen Lowe, the DNA project leader, is the challenge person on that. So we've got some stuff coming up. Saturday sourcing sprint, Friday date night. Please come and hang out with Julie.
That's right. The next on the 13th, the beginning of the next WikiTree challenge on the Thursday with Ellen Thompson Jennings. And
I was going to talk about that in a minute.
Were you? Oh, I'm sorry.
I was saving it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I blew it.
She blew it. He blew it.
There
we go. I even have a picture of her. Oh, gosh.
By the way, congratulations to Greg for stepping up for a bigger role in the WikiTree Challenge.
Thank you. I'm one of the WikiTree Challenge facilitators. So.
Oh, great. Yay.
I've got an official title.
So Ellen Thompson Jennings, who is a very good friend of mine out in Edmonton, Alberta, is going to be taking the WikiTree. I thought she was in the WikiTree Challenge before.
Some of them are taking a second run at it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Cemetery Spotlight coming up this week. Now, these are all the social media stuff. And we need people to share that WikiTree love and put us out there to help boost our SEO, our search engine optimization, because it took a little bit of a hit in the past little bit. So the more we share, the better our SEO will come back up to what it once was. The Cemetery Spotlight, if you want to share that, there's all the links for each one of the social media sites. Evergreen Cemetery, that's pretty cool looking. The question of the week, we don't know that yet. And the one name Tuesday, the one name study is Vincent. Then the connection checkers is Tuesday. One place Wednesday is Buxton, Maine. I've been there. It's a nice little place. And the project showcase is the Native Americans Project. Beautiful little medicine wheel. Yeah. The new member Q&A is coming up on Thursday with Betsy Co. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know, Betsy, you have the job I always wanted on WikiTree.
What's that?
Working with the new members to help them be onboarded. When I was a greeter, I was like, yeah, we need somebody to coordinate. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
New member Q&A on Thursday. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Spotlight is coming up. So we've got some links there. Then the Meet Our Members. And next Saturday, there is a fly in the ointment, but you can certainly share that gorgeous picture of Betsy, Greg, and I. Sandy Paddock will be standing in for me. Who have you gotten to stand in for you, Greg? What's up with that?
I haven't. You stole the one I usually ask.
Are you both leaving me?
Yeah.
We're both at the Ontario Genealogical Conference.
I asked her during the first few minutes of the live cast.
You rotter, you.
I mean, I will be happy with Sandy.
You can grab Vicky Blanco.
Oh, Vicky.
Is Vicky still here? The Sandra and Betsy.
What are you doing next Saturday, Vicky?
Yeah, good idea. That would be fun.
That would be fun. You could get Anne Fiordalisi to come in. Where is OGC? What is OGC?
Your conference.
It's
in Toronto.
It's Ontario Ancestors, and it is in Toronto. All right. So Greg and I will both be there. And Greg, you have no idea, but you changed my talk. I'm doing the opening talk on Friday night at the conference. And because of something Greg did today, I have changed my talk.
Really?
Yeah.
Today on the live cast or today?
Yeah, today on the live cast. I'm not going to tell him what, but he'll figure it out Friday night.
Goodness.
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
So that is the WikiTree livecast and the roundup of everything that is WikiTree for this week. We hope to see you, not us, but if you are in Ontario, wear WikiTree orange and grab a picture with us. We would love to hang out with you and show some WikiTree love at the Ontario Ancestors Conference. Are you bringing an orange shirt, Greg?
I will have an orange shirt.
I'll have an orange shirt there, but I don't know when I can wear it because I'm talking every day.
I
have to be dressed for talking every day. So I got to figure, I need to find a fun dress shirt or something, or a fun jacket. Oh, I do have a jacket, but it's like a winter jacket. Anyway, we'll see you next week. Not all of us, but some of us will see you here next week. And you guys are going to have fun. If you don't have a chance to see us live, you can catch us on the rewind. And also, Anne, you need to go back to the 1 hour mark to see all the stuff that we were showing about your family.
Yeah.
Love to have you guys around. You guys have a great week, and we will see you soon.
Happy WikiTreeing.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.